Welcome and welcome once again. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing as I will keep on adding more and more content to help you step by step how to register with ECSA as a professional. Also, if you have not watched the previous videos, make sure to watch those before you can actually start to watch this one. I've left a link in the description below. Now, as I've promised you, I've prepared examples to help you see how you can answer some of these questions on Outcomes 1, which is to define, investigate, and analyze requirements. Important, if you want to get a holistic picture, make sure to listen to each and every part of this video. You will notice at the end of Outcomes 1.3 that I'm just giving you pointers. If you will listen very carefully to the videos, you will understand that it's easy to follow what it is that you're supposed to do for outcomes 1.3. As I noted before, I will use the Technologist application form as it's the most relatable to all the different categories. Also, it's a good point of reference to me since I'm registered in that particular category. My examples will also mainly be from mechanical field, as I am a mechanical engineering technologist myself. Jumping on the application form. The outcomes and criteria is going to give ECSA an opportunity to see how you have solved problems across the system's development life cycle. In this video, we cover Outcomes 1, which is the systems analysis phase only. Note, here you are expanding from your TER or TEO on a well, broad, or complex defined way. And the degree of level of responsibility is at level E. So you're going to focus on using your reports or outlines from that you noted at the degree of responsibility level E only. And note that these notes are applicable to all the 11 outcomes. Now, before we start, I want you to remember that you have just given the budget of this well, broad, or complex problem. Let me show you where you do so. Just before, in your short summary, just below your short summary there, you've just given your budget of these outcomes and criteria. So when you're going to be answering the questions here, you don't need to be focusing on talking about the budgets. That is already something that you've given them. Outcomes 1.1. State how you performed or contributed in defining engineering problems leading to an agreed definition of the problem to be solved. So all these questions, you will note that they start with how. And this how is an answer to the engineering process or method that you followed step by step. Now I've prepared example for a designer, and I've also prepared an example for a person who's working as a maintenance person, maintaining the plant or so. Let's start with the example of the designer in this outcomes 1.1, where he's defining engineering problems which led to him coming up to an agreed definition of the problem to be solved. It reads, I've received the user requirements document or task from client, senior manager, or management, and have worked together with the systems engineer or design team to design systems definition document. Okay, I've adopted a bottom-up approach to gather information to define the problem by reviewing previous product systems that are available in the market. I've used use case models and activity models to elicit requirements from the user using the old system in order to build the new system. We have identified the internal and external stakeholders, the practices, standards, and regulation applicable for our design. We use, I'm just giving an example, AWS D1.2 for welding procedures, regulations, etc. After review, I've signed off definition document together with the client, quality representative, the company, um, as a baseline of first phase. You see? So I have not gone very specific, but I've just shown you in a general way how a designer can approach this type of questions. He's supposed to bring out the method that he used to define. You see, here some of the methods were to use use case models, activity diagrams, and reviewing previous products. It's just one of the things that you could show, and also you could have spoken about the different stakeholders, the East client being the biggest stakeholder because they are the ones who give him the requirement. His client can be even his boss. His client can be a customer who give him requirements that he has to meet. He can be making a product that is going to be sold to the industry. Anything of that sort. So now at the end there I am saying see attached requirement document in addendum A. That I'm showing you an example of someone who wants to attach evidence of the document that they are specifying that they've received or even written. This can help ECSA to 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 have confidence in your report, to know that this work was done. Though this is not mandatory, but this gives you a chance to shine, or a chance to actually get registered, because sometimes the interviewers are not able to understand that which you're bringing out, or they don't see things that you are bringing out. And if only there was any evidence that shows, you could stand a better chance. Now, I've also given an example for maintenance commissioner or a project manager. You must remember, these people I'm mentioning here, or let's say in particular the person who's doing maintenance work, they are not working with they are not designing a product or a system from scratch. They find a system which is already designed, and they just responsible for maintaining it until the product wears off or reaches the end of its its life cycle. So the question was, how can that type of person approach this question? Nah? I've written it almost like how I wrote it for my report, because the report that I used was for a contract where I was managing maintenance work. So I'm saying I've worked with the contractor or client to define the engineering process. I conducted a review with the management, client, or senior manager to break down the reliability problem of the motors, causing fast approaching mean time between failures. I gathered information by sending questionnaire to vendors on our database. I've implemented a solution to modify the system from manual greasing to automated greasing system. These modifications required configuration management. I've updated all the configuration document to improvements and have implemented the upgrade on all the motors of the section I manage. See picture of old motors and new motors. Also find the configuration document updates on addendum A. Again, here I just it was a general example, and this example was speaking more to a person who can be working at an environment like at the mines where there's a lot of motors, but also a person who's working at a factory. We could have used this example to understand how they can actually start to answer this question. The focus here really would be you bringing out uh, the, the method that you have used to define and bring that out. I want to how the method that you use to define the engineering problem. That is what you must bring out. So the problem was identified. Né? How did you define the problem? How did you write out? What steps did you follow to define the problem that was at hand? You conducted a review with management. In that way, you were showing them what you are planning to do. Eh? You gathered information by sending a questionnaire to vendors. In that way, you were asking industry who already know this system or product to explain to you how they can solve this problem. That is a process that an engineer can follow to define a problem. So this is all about the technique that you are using to gather information. That is how you can define a problem. So uh, and then lastly, if you can show ECSA the pictures of what it was and what it becomes, they're gonna become excited. And if you can show them the process of your configuration management that you follow in your industry, that can be exciting, because now you're showing them that you actually follow an engineering process. Because the configuration document can be a document called engineering change procedure, which uh, really manages into engineering problems, so, where you are affecting fit, form, or function of a system. You see, so when you bring in the configuration document, that can help EXA to really see the steps that you're following are engineering related. Okay, let's go to the 1.2 uh, question. They say, state how you performed or contributed in investigating the engineering problems, including collecting, organizing, and evaluating information. Okay, the question for the designer: how does a designer investigate? Let's answer it. The client requested us to upgrade their product. The problem with the upgrade is that some parts of the system were obsolete while others were not. We did a trade-off study to collect information to make decision on whether we would be buying a new off-the-shelf product, system, or part, or design obsolete parts, product, or system. We followed a top-down and bottom-up approach. So some of the parts were designed and others were bought off the shelf. You see, again here, I am explaining how I investigated. How I investigated engineering problem. So in this design example, what I'm bringing out just a little bit is the technique that I use to investigate. I use a method of trade-off, trading off. I'm basically trading off the material, the, the the different parts or systems that are available on the market. Then I make a decision based on that to investigate, to use a top-down and bottom-up approach. Top-down would be designing a part, and bottom-up will be taking a part which is already available in the market and re-engineering it so it fits what I have, what I want it to be. Make a few modifications if need be, or leave it as it is and design the other part to fit on it. So that's the example where I was investigating as a designer. Now, as a maintenance person or a person who's working commissioning a plant or a project manager, I have said the problem was the process control room was showing all the motors were running while we had switched off the motors in the MCC room. I called the foreman and instrumentation team. I called the occupational safety and health and safety representative to note the incident. I tasked a task was logged and I investigated the root cause of miscommunication. We used manual guidelines methods to figure out if there were any problems we could identify before we called in the contractor specialist. I requested the foreman to task their junior engineer or artisan to test the cabling and conduct a breakdown of the different parts of the plant. The foreman reports to me. The investigation resulted in da 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 da. I concluded da 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 da. You see? Another example, I said the problem where the liners were wearing off too quickly on the silos. There are various reasons that cause the wearing off. That is normal corrosion, etc. I tasked the foreman to assemble a team of boiler makers. A sample of the liner plate was taken to the lab to do NDT test, amongst other tests that you can mention by a contractor on our database. Yeah, you will figure this out, but I'm giving you examples that show you how you could have answered this question. Now, 1.3, as I said, I'm just gonna give you pointers. Here they're asking you to describe how you performed or contributed in analyzing engineering problems using conceptualization, justified assumptions, limitations, and evaluation of result. Here, you just expand on concepts. You mention the critical parameters and dimensions. You mention the standards that you to ensure you meet the user application requirements. You mention the models you use. For mechanical engineers, we all know it's CAD models, FEAs. You show the drawing or detailed drawing on the addendum. This will bring out or answer this question of 1.3. Yeah, so I'm saying here, look to the time when you did modifications and showcase the concepts that you came up with. Explain the process, engineering process you followed. Also make mention of your configuration methods. Yeah, so 1.3 for me really it's at this point it's very easy to do because concepts are concepts. um, it's the same across all industries. You just have to remember to put in the parameters. You see, the parameters, more especially the critical ones, are very important because those would have been defined um, by the client. They will tell you this is what this system must do. So you need to make sure that you include those which are critical in your concepts. You have to cover them. Yeah, and then you have to cover uh, the regulations that go with these concepts. Um, can be government related, local, can be international regulations, it can be standards that you just need to mention in this part. Yeah, so that's how you show how you analyze in the engineering problems here. I hope that the little piece of information that I've shared with you can help you to start to answer some of these outcomes. Um, Unfortunately, I cannot give you my personal report because I think it was going to be easier if I just share with you my personal one, but I cannot do that because this is on the internet and everyone is going to be seeing this. So I had to just come up with examples that can help you to uh, have 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 done, which is the systems analysis phase of your of your system. Thank you, and I look forward to being with you as I continue uh, doing the other outcomes. And yes, please don't forget to subscribe because this helps the community to grow, and also it helps encourages me to make more videos knowing that I've got a very large community. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.